Okay, so today we're going to work on putting a graphic inside text. So the first thing I'm going to do is go over here to my little padlock on my layer. I'm going to double click on that, and that will basically pull this up and hit OK. And now this layer is unlocked. Next thing I do is go over to the toolbar here. If you don't see the toolbar, go up under, I believe it's Windows, and you've got your tools, either Windows or View. And then you can get your toolbar to show from there. So if you don't have your layers, come down onto Windows and hit the layers F7. But anyway, go over to the toolbar, click on the toolbar, and it's currently set at 60 points. If I take it to 72 points, that's equivalent of an inch. And I'm using Impact. Impact is a nice font that is sans serif, meaning it doesn't have a tail, and it's nice and thick, which means we're going to see a lot of graphic through there. So I clicked on the tool, the move tool here, and if I select the actual text, I can take the corner and I can drag this and move it, or if I click on it, I should be able to stretch it as well. So I want to make this nice and big, fill up pretty much the frame here so I can see lots of picture behind. Now once I pull that there, I can come into the middle toggle and hit the shift key, and if I pull the middle toggle down, it'll actually stretch the actual text. So stretching it, use the middle one, holding it on the corners will give you the proper dimensions. So I'll leave it about there. Click on the magnifying glass, right click and hit fit on screen. It'll fit on screen for me. Just going to move this a little bit more to about there. And then the next thing I do, I want to make sure that my layer that has the text on is underneath my picture. So once I've done that, I basically then going to click, deselect this, and as I come between the two layers, it flops back and forth between the layers. If I hold the Alt key down, when I flip, I see this little toggle. It's a white square and a black triangle arrow. So you can see it's toggling back and forth. If I hold the Alt key down at the same time as clicking on there, it will force a mask on there, which means then the picture is going to be underneath my text. If I select the layer that has the picture, I can move this around, so I can move players around so I can see this guy's face a little bit more right here. So I can adjust that so it looks good. Alright, now a couple of other things. Hit the arrow, the top left arrow key there, just deselect things. I'm going to come down here next to the trash can and click on this square right here. It puts a layer in, it adds a layer. I'm going to drag that underneath, and I can come in here and select the color by clicking on these, and the school colors are CYMK, so it's 100%, 21%, 42% and 0. That will give you the school colors of teal. It's up to you what colors you use, but that's the school colors. Select the bucket, which is sometimes sitting underneath the gradient tool, so sometimes you'll have the gradient tool here. Click on that and hold the mouse down, and then select the paint bucket. Make sure the layers is selected, and then just click on the background, and that puts in a teal background for me. So a couple of other things I can do here. Go back to the text tool and go down to the FX for effects, and I'm going to put a bevel, an edge on this. Now I can bevel it so it has a bevel on the outside or the inside. I'm going to use an internal bevel on here. I'm going to keep it smooth, and I can change the depth of the bevel right here, and then you just move it around the size that you think that you want it to be, and you can change the angle of the bevel. So once I've done that, I'm going to click on stroke, and I've got the school orange here, and if you notice now I have an orange stroke around my text. If you go too thick, it's going to be too much. So I'm just going to go down to about a 5 thickness, just to give it some separation. You can also put a drop shadow on. If you double click on the drop shadow dialog box will come up. This is the angle of the drop shadow. This is the strength and the opacity of the drop shadow. And then this is the distance away from the text you're going to have the drop shadow, so you can look like lifted up. And you can change the spread of it, make it harder or softer. As I say, the size of it, just more of a kind of a glowy look to it there. Okay, once you've got that done, I'm going to click OK. and that's what it's looking like. Take my layer and I'm just going to put a bevel and edge. I'm going to click the FX button, go to bevel and emboss, and then the outside here has a bevel on there already, and I kind of like the thickness and everything else of that already, so I just click OK, and that's pretty much it. So the last thing you want to do, if you know that you're done with these projects and you're not going to go back in and alter things, and you've got to be pretty certain about that, because once you do this next step you won't be able to undo it. But if you are comfortable that you have it fixed and where you want it to be, just looking at this now, I've got some thickness of here, but this is pretty close. So I am actually going to change that a little bit. I'm going to go to my layer panel, my crop tool, and I'm just going to drag this out a little bit so I've got a bit more thickness to it, to about there. And you'll see this checkerboard, meaning it's transparent. So deselect this by clicking on the arrow tool, and now make sure the layer panel is connected, and then take the paint bucket, make sure your color is correct, and then just hit that area there and it will fill that in for you. So looking at that now, I think there's too much space here, so I'm just going to pop that in just a tad so it visually looks correct, and there I'm done. So again, if you think you're finished and you know you're not going to go back in and work on this, if you go to layers and you flatten image, what that does, it takes all those layers and it connects those layers together, mushes them down, and it makes your file a lot smaller. So when you're putting these files up online, they'll load quicker and it won't take up all your hard drive. So I've flattened that now, that's a lot smaller a file. I go to File, I can go to Export, and I can export as a PNG, and then from there I've got another graphic ready to go. So here's one I did earlier, did that one, and then this is the current one. So hopefully that makes sense, and if you've got questions, always come and see me.